Hi everyone, welcome to video B, and for this time we would like to run with you how to calculate your financial independence duration, and also then you can calculate your retirement age that you feel comfortable with your financial independence. So Mr. and Mrs. Now have experienced the SARS and now the COVID, and they would like to retire as early as possible, and so they need to know few parameters before they can make the decision. So they need to know their financial independence duration after they stop working. And they need to have an asset liability matching table to list out all the assets and necessary liabilities in order to calculate their potential retirement age. So I advise you guys to take out a pen and a paper, and you can draft out your total asset portfolio and your total liabilities so you can get a sense about your own net asset value and net cash flow. Before we go to calculate the financial independence ratio or duration, or deduct your retirement age, so I would like to remind you about how to get your optimized asset allocation through a risk tolerance approach. I use the listed equities as an example. For example, during this year, calendar year or financial year, you have a tolerance for only $300,000 loss, the maximum loss, while you estimated in the worst case scenario, the market could drop around 17%. So that when you deduct back of the total market value, 300,000 over 17%, it will become $1.76 million. Then it should be around that number. You will feel more comfortable because this is the risk that you could take from your own recognition. Similarly, for the fixed income asset, real estate, you can use similar way to work back so that you can get your optimized asset allocation. So suppose everyone should be in an optimized asset allocation situation. Otherwise, you need to change it. Okay, the cash similarly. Okay, let's start to see how the financial independence duration was calculated. First, we need to calculate the asset side and the cash inflow side. So that you list out all the asset type you own and roughly how much each year it would pay the cash dividend, for example, from listed equity or the interest paid from your fixed income instruments. If the real estate is just for sale occupancy, so you don't have any income from that. And the yield from the cash, if you have any yield, is starting to have yield now, so you can get a cash inflow item for the year, and then you can estimate the market value of the asset that you have owned in terms of current value or market value. Okay, as we already described in the last slide about how to get the asset allocation weighting, and then the yield of asset, you can get it from last year as for reference. And then the couple is working now, so they have career income. So we have to emphasize the importance of cash positive inflow is important in order to make up the net cash flow is positive. So $1 million cash is already take into consideration if the property price get decline 25% and the bank asks you to top up the collateral. I would like to emphasize the importance of positive cash flow on a net basis. It is even more important than positive asset values. Positive market value of your asset as an aggregate is not necessarily a good financial condition without considering the net cash flow. The recent great example is the current debt crisis for the China property developers. A lot of them have a lot of assets, but because of their cash flow is negative, they have problem in paying the recent debts that make them on the edge of bankruptcy. Now let us see the financial burdens and the cash outflow in more details. So of course, the first foremost for everyone, we have to pay our insurance payment for either health, for your property or the car you own, and then you need to pay your family expense, the obligations, schoolings, grandparent subsidies, mortgage payment, and the government tax, especially the salary tax. So as a result, then you can get the aggregate of the market value of the financial burdens in each year, and also the cash total outflow because of the financial burdens or liabilities. So one big item usually for every individual, if they still have a mortgage, is once there are property crisis, if your loan value is higher than the market value of the property, then you run a risk that the bank may ask for your top up by cash for the loan, so the bank can have lesser risk on the borrower. I think that is something that we have to bear in mind. As a result of seeing both the income and the outflow, financial burden and the asset, so we get the net asset value and the net cash flow. So both are positive. Of course, it's not bad situation. And if you are still not happy with the net cash position, then you can redo the asset allocation according to your risk tolerance, because high risk means high return. So in order to calculate the retirement age and also after retirement, how long you can remain financially independent, we need to make several simple assumptions for this illustration. We have made up two scenarios. One is both Mr. and Mrs. Lau work another 10 years more before they retire, and another scenario is they work another 20 years before they retire. So we make it simple. A lot of changes that should happen, we make it no change to make it simple. Okay, now we can list both of the assets and the liabilities together, and then so we can see how we get the net market value and the net cash flow. So this is a case of after 10 years or 20 years, when the couple have no more mortgage, no need to pay heavy government tax because they don't have any salary income. And so as a result, you can see they have a negative net cash flow because they lost the income from their work. Now let us see the results in the two scenarios. Roughly speaking, we get a financial independence ratio for the both scenario. One work after 10 years, and then they will use the cash savings, and then they will use the financial assets for their living after their retirement. So how many years they could last for their living, add together, then become the financial independence duration in the years. In the first case, work another 10 years more, they can last 27 years. And in the scenario 2, they work after another 20 years, they can last for another 33 years. So as I said, so the cash from the cash saving and the asset from financial asset, they spend all and then become the total financial independent age. So for the 10-year scenario, cash lasts for around 6.3 years, financial asset another 20 years, so add together 27 years. So for the scenario 2, they work for another 20 years, they got a total of 33 years of financial independence after retirement. Okay, now with all the simple calculation and deductions, we can see from this summary table, assuming the couple is now 40 years old, they work 10 years, become 50 years, and then their financial independence can last another 27 years, and they spend the cash and the financial assets for their financial independence at the age of 77. In scenario 2, they work another 20 years. It will last them until the age of 93. So this is helpful for you to make up your mind when to retire. And of course, you can add complexity to the assumptions, make it closer to realities in your own situation. And remember, if you are very risk averse at this moment, it will reduce the number of years of financial independence because risk and return. Now you take low risk, then you have low return, and subsequently will reduce the number of years of financial independence. Thank you so much for your patience. If you get all the major concepts understand, then you can proceed to watch video C. And you can review all the slides that at the later pages I have still slides for your reference, and you can take more time. You feast the screen, and then you can study carefully and in more details. Thank you so much.